It's time for the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. It's time for the game on News Talk 1400 WKNW Sault Ste. Marie. For the next 2 hours, we'll get an in-depth look at local sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region and hear from the coaches and players that are involved in the game. We'll also analyze the college and pro sports scene across the region and dive into the biggest national stories too. Now, let's get to the game and join your host, Scott Nason.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the game on News Talk 1400. You can also hear our show online at newstalk1400.net and podcasts available at thegamesportshow.podbean.com. As the man said, my name is Scott Nason, broadcasting from our News Talk 1400 studios just outside the city limits of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan on this Monday, August 8th, 2022. The game, the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, will be with you up until 8 o'clock tonight. Coming up on tonight's show, around 6:15, we'll be joined by co-host David McCaig Jr., host of the Game Sports Show in Sault, Ontario, as we will discuss all the things going on in the north. At 6:30, special guest, the voice of Soo High Blue Devils athletics, Dave Watson, will join us, and Dave will stick around for the roundtable with our co-host Butch Davis, host of Butch on Sports. Joining us at the top of the batting order, so to speak, general manager and owner of the Soo Eagles of the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League, Bruno Bragagnolo, joining us once again on the game. Bruno, as always, great to talk to you and talk Soo Eagles hockey. How you doing, sir?
Hi, Scott. Thanks for having me on board. Yeah, everything's going good, getting ready to go here for the season, so keeping busy.
Yep, the world of junior hockey, always a busy place, Bruno, and over this past weekend, the Soo Eagles held their tryout camp at the Big Bear Arena. Just to give our listeners an idea on how the camp went, I know you had quite a few players there, and just, your early look at picking the team. What were some of the things that you saw out there?
Yeah, we had about 50 boys that we invited that we've been scouting throughout the spring and summer. And we were pretty impressed. We had a lot of tough decisions to make, especially with goaltending and a couple of the D. So I thought it was one of the best camps we've had here in quite a while. So,
Bruno, I don't know if you can announce the team as of yet, but as far as returning players from last year, who will be suiting up that you can tell us at least on this year's Soo Eagles team that has been there in the past?
Yeah, we have Kobe Fox, a defenseman, on D. Brian Fittis is going to be joining us again. I believe Jack Morton is going to be joining us again. Isaiah Gagerman, who he had to leave last year for some things back home he had to take care of, but he's back. We have Caleb Horn, Logan Raphael are back. Two of our goaltenders, and I think we're going to be in pretty good shape here. So, we're pretty excited about the group that we have here.
Yeah, and coming off of last season, Bruno, certainly just getting the season going was a challenge, and being able to play all your games. Going into this season, it appears that is in the past, thankfully, barring any other things that we don't know of. Just from a general manager and owner's perspective, this time last year compared to this year, it's certainly a little bit brighter for the Soo Eagles.
Yeah, knock on wood, it does appear to be
right
that way. So, hopefully we don't have to, go through any of the issues that we had last year with the testing and the borders and not be able to play at home for a while. So, if everything stays the way it is right now, it should be pretty good. A lot easier to navigate than it was last year, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely indeed. Bruno Bragagnolo joining us on the game, owner and general manager of the Soo Eagles of the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League. So, Bruno, the season will begin for the Soo Eagles in early September. You'll be on the road for a pair of games, September 9th at the Sioux Thunderbirds, September 10th at the Blind River Beavers, and the home opener and our first broadcast here on News Talk 1400 will be on September 16th at home against the Elliott Lake Red Wings. Looking at the schedule and the teams, pretty much the usual cast of characters are there. There has been a name change. Espanola is now the Paper Kings, but other than that, pretty much the same teams and a little bit different setup for the Soo Eagles, obviously, being able to play early games at home and having a lot of weekend games. Are you happy with how the schedule laid out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, last year we had to play several free game trips in a row. I think this year we may only have one, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Well, two, maybe one or two probably, which is pretty much normal every year. So that worked out good. And we start training camp August 21st, they report.
Okay.
Then we do 2-a-days for a week. We'll be at the Big Bear for 2 days, 2 sessions a day for a week. Then we'll go back to normal schedule. And then we go to Thunder Bay for it's the first time they're doing it. It's called the Teleco Cup.
Right.
It'll be like a series between us and Cam River in Thunder Bay there. So it'll be their exhibition, help us get ready for the season. Then we come back, and then, like you said, we start away that first week in the second week of September. And then we're home the following week, and then we're off and running. So, yeah, we're excited about it. And once we start pretty good. We'll be going pretty good. So, a lot to look forward to.
Thunder Bay, I believe, Bruno, the home of your head coach, Doug Laprade, who we wanted to get on as well as you tonight, but Doug's celebrating his 30th anniversary. So happy anniversary to him and Pam. Obviously, Coach Laprade back. Bruno, any other changes as far as coaching staff this year?
So Fedorov is back also with us again, and Doug. So, we added a new trainer, Andy Spiral from the Coast Guard. He'll be our medical trainer, which will be good. And then, Rob Horn, Dave, Joe, Billy, Gene and Paul, the whole cast are back pretty much, which is great because they do a phenomenal job, and also, John Bospas, he's been recovering from some health issues, but seems to be coming on strong. And, shout out to him because can't say enough about what he's done and how he's helped our organization. So, looking forward to another year. And, we got a full staff on board, and it should be good.
And Bruno, I was going to ask, brings me to my next question as far as, the Eagles have been around for a while now, over 10 years in Sault Ste. Marie, and certainly, having a good ownership group and having volunteers. And you mentioned a lot of those names, including John Bospas, Rob Horn, and others. They've been around for a while. And, from an owner's perspective, you need that in a small town in junior hockey. And the Soo Eagles certainly have been blessed with some very good and lively volunteers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, without them, we couldn't have done it. Ever since I got here, I've been lucky to have some people to help me get going when I got here and help me keep going. Another person too, Kathy Tibbett. She's been in that. Yep. I mean, I could probably go on and name about 30 people, and the fans and the sponsors. I mean, they've all been really, really good for us, and believe me, we appreciate that very much, especially after these last 2 years, which have been pretty difficult to get through, but we have, and it's been with the help of our volunteers, fans, and sponsors that we've been able to do that. So,
looking at this league, Bruno, since you got involved over 10 years ago, what have been the major changes to you as far as just the league as a whole, maybe level of play, style of play? Is this a league that the NOJHL that is improving and seems to be getting better?
Oh, there's absolutely no doubt about that. The only thing I don't like is all the paperwork that's involved now.
Yes.
The courses and classes and everything that every players and coaches have to take. It's a little bit overwhelming, but we'll navigate through that too. But as far as the league, the level of play, the style of play, we won it the first year I came here. I believe that was 10-11.
Yep.
Was it? Yeah. 2010-11. It was, I guess I'll be honest, it was a little bit on the slap shot hockey side of play.
Yep.
It was really pretty rough and tumble, and the fans enjoyed it, the players enjoyed it, but it was pretty tough hockey back then. I wouldn't say goony, but it was, it was still talented. It was good skating league and stuff, but over the last, I'd say, especially the last 6 years, I've noticed a big difference. The league has probably gotten a little bit younger, a little more skilled, a little faster. The major junior teams, the OHL, they send a lot of their players here to develop in our league. They wouldn't do that if they didn't think it was a good league to develop their talent and stuff. So, yeah, the coaching's always been really good. The league is filled with a lot of really good coaches, and the players, like I said, overall the players, the speed has picked up, the skill has picked up, and there's some really good owners too. So, yeah, it's really developing. It's definitely improving year by year.
Bruno Bragagnolo joining us on the game, owner and general manager of the Soo Eagles. And Bruno, final question. If you go on the Soo Eagles website, you can find a list of college commitments from over the years. And that's something the Soo Eagles, yourself, and the entire coaching staff and ownership group have done well, getting players to the next level. And you certainly, as an owner, a general manager, something you have to be very proud of. Maybe the thing you're the most proud of is just how you've helped promote a lot of these kids to keep playing at college and other levels.
But it's been the ownership group's philosophy since day one. I mean, we're definitely not there to make money. We're lucky to we try to break even, obviously.
Right.
But our goal has always been, and that's been Ron Levin, our main ownership, who started, who was the main owner to start. The philosophy has always been, we're giving these boys an opportunity to develop to get to college. And, between me, Doug, and some of our other staff, we know quite a few coaches throughout the college hockey world. And yeah, we've been able to do a real good job to promote the players and get them up to the next level. I believe I think this is really the 12th year I'm going to be here, or 12th year, right? 22, started 10. Yeah, about 12th year, but I believe we're almost at about 150 players right now who have gone on to play college hockey from our program. So it's been, we've been, that's, like you said, that's what we're most proud of. We've always had winning seasons too, but getting the boys to school is our main goal and main objective. And I feel good about the job that we've done there. And we always got to try to do better though,
Soo Eagles will start their regular season a month from tomorrow, September 9th, at the Soo Thunderbirds, and our first broadcast of Soo Eagles hockey here on News Talk 1400, as we will have all the home games once again on the radio, September 16th against Elliott Lake at Puller Stadium. Bruno, appreciate you taking time out for joining us on the game. Certainly looking forward to another fun year of junior hockey at the Puller, and we will talk to you down the road here on the game. Thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for having me, Scott. And again, I'm looking forward to working with you again this year. I appreciate your help also.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks, Bruno. We're going to take a break. We come back. We'll be joined by David McCaig Jr., all coming up on the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, The Game, News Talk 1400. Welcome back to The Game on News Talk 1400. Scott Nason with you, and joining us now and every Monday night, co-host of The Game here on News Talk 1400 and host of The Game Sports Show in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Ladies and gentlemen, David McCaig Jr. joining us once again on The Game. Tiger, how you doing on this Monday night, my friend?
Scotty, I'm doing well, my friend. How are you on this fine Monday night?
I'm doing great, Dave, and let's get right to it, as there was some news announced here earlier today that Jordan Smith has joined the American Hockey League as an assistant coach for the Springfield Thunderbirds. Jordan Smith, certainly no stranger to any hockey fans in Sault Ste. Marie and any sports fans of the Game Sports Show. Dave, wanted your thoughts on Jordan Smith getting a pretty nice gig.
Oh, you know what? When I saw that release from good, reliable Jerry Lincecum as the voice of the Hounds, the Springfield Thunderbirds are the affiliate of the St. Louis Blues, and they announced today that Jordan Smith will be joining their coaching staff as the assistant coach for the upcoming 22-23 season. And, he just completed his 4th year with the Hounds. And honestly, when I look back and even think back, wow, time is just flying by. It just seems like just recently that we had him on our show, the special edition uploads that we have on the Game Sports Show, as he's one of our most streamed guests, fun fact. So everyone in the Soo and a lot of hockey fans in the surrounding areas and nationally that observe our show definitely know the name of Jordan Smith. And, Jordan worked primarily with the defenseman, and in the article that was sent by Jaron Linscomb, he brought that up, and that made me laugh a little bit because, not in a bad way by any means, in a good way, because Jordan Smith defensively is an absolute truck. He played, I guess you should say now, men's league for the Mayor's Open League here in town in Sault Ste. Marie. And when he plays defense, it's like he's still playing in the National Hockey League. As everyone knows, he was in the Ducks system before he had the unfortunate injury to his eye. And I've done some research on how he is as a coach, and he knows the defensive game through and through. And I think it's very well deserved for Jordan, as well as, let's be honest, if he didn't have that injury that he had occur to him, which was such a tragedy into his career, but again, it still led to something else in his career. So I guess it's still, there's a little bit of light to that situation. But he would have been a National Hockey League player if that injury didn't happen. And I don't know if that makes him feel any better if he hears that or not from a friend as in yours truly. But, when I play against him in men's league hockey, it's still like he's playing professional hockey. He has that serious competitive nature to him, which is going to make him such a great and effective coach in the American Hockey League. And to be in the OHL, where he actually started in Sudbury, he held an assistant coach position, I believe it was in 17 and 18, before he went over to join the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. And he actually began coaching in the SIJHL in Thunder Bay in 2012. In 13, I know that because of some sources in Thunder Bay, and I won't get into how I have sources in Thunder Bay in my playing days. But he also went to the Sault Thunderbirds. He started going from, after playing and having the issue that he did with getting into coaching out of town, in town. And then he actually led the Thunderbirds to a 2015 Dunley Hewitt Cup, right? And it just grew from there, his coaching career. And you got that experience. You put your nose to the grindstone and you work hard. And Jordan has done that as not only a player, but as a coach. And he played for the Greyhounds in 2001-02 and then 04-05. And that was 11 years old, I guess, at the time, and even 13-14 at the time. So I remember watching Jordan Smith being like, that guy is an absolute unit on the blue line for the Hounds. So as a player, he was effective. As a coach, he was effective and grew and worked his way up the ranks. And he's done such a tremendous job with it. And with the Hounds, he's done great with that defensive core of these Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. And you know what? I feel like each year he's had a different tier of defense talent, Jordan Smith with the Greyhounds, and he's been able to adjust to what he has and be able to get the best out of his players. And what I hear is that he is a player's coach, but when it's time to get down to business and it's time to get to work, he is in full force of that. And that's the good differentiation between being a coach is there's a time where, you can have a simple conversation with your players. And when it's practice, when it's travel time, when it's game tape time, when it's that time to be serious, Jordan has that separation. And, I get to see the fun side of him a little bit extra, maybe obviously from knowing him a bit off the ice. And he's a big fan of the Game Sports Show. He likes all of our posts. He follows it. He compliments it. And he's been a guest, and I think we're going to have to get him as a guest before he heads over to coach in Springfield for a part 2. But, with his career, he ended at playing university throughout, and I always go back to his playing career to where he ended because he kept doing what he loved. And even though he was stopped doing what he loved as a player, he got into it as a coach. And it worked out now to where he's going to the American Hockey League. And that's not no easy feat. To get recognized and grow the leagues that he has, it's obvious the talent and the abilities that he can bring as a coach to that staff. And I would be very surprised if he's not being a head coach in the American Hockey League within the next couple seasons. And who knows? The sky's the limit after that, right? And I feel like Jordan Smith is going to be a great fit in the coaching gig in the professional level. But Springfield's got a good coach, but an overall good dude there.
I was going to say that, Dave, a good coach, but a good guy. Dave, let's move on to the Major League Baseball races and the standings. The Toronto Blue Jays currently 60-48, 9.5 games behind the slumping New York Yankees, who have lost 5 straight. The Jays still in the wild card picture, a couple game lead over Tampa and many others. The Jays will start a big series against another hard-charging team, the Baltimore Orioles. Dave, your thoughts on the Toronto Blue Jays, not tearing it up, but certainly winning more than they're losing and in good position right now in the wild card race.
The Jays this year have been up and down about it. It's definitely the inconsistencies have been a problem, right? You have, even from the first game of the season against Texas, they had the lead, they're down in the game pretty heavily, and they come back and just battle back and win the game. I believe it was 10-7, top of my head. And, that's where I figured, okay, this type of year is going to be just an offensive driven year. Pitching may or may not be existent, and the problem is going to be the bullpen. Now, fast forwarding to today, the bullpen has its inconsistencies. The batting has been inconsistent for the Toronto Blue Jays, and the pitching has been inconsistent. But somebody who has been pretty consistent this year has been Kevin Gausman. He's been great. Alek Manoah is a stud. We got very blessed to have Alek Manoah on our squad. Barrios, too bad he's not having the season that he should be having, because then that would be 3 pitchers where you can almost guarantee a win when you go into your matchups, which is almost 66% of your games. If you think about it, if you have a pitcher, 3 out of your 5 pitchers that are for sure wins. Ryu can't stay healthy. Kikuchi was a gamble from the start. I wasn't a fan from the start, and I believe, and people may call me insane for it, but I think Kikuchi would be a better long reliever arm for the remainder of this year, even when he's healthy. And then you can throw White and Stripling into the rotation. I think that would be the best direction for the squad overall. When it comes into the playoffs, you're playing your top 3-4 guys anyways, and having you need to rely on your bullpen, and to have some strength in the bullpen. Maybe Kikuchi would be a bit more of a benefit in the bullpen as a long reliever to try to get that game back, because you're not getting rid of him this year. He's there to stay. So the Blue Jays being the spot where they are, the reason why I bring up pitching is because that is a concern. You have Mesa, who had injury over the weekend. There's Springer, who cannot live and play a full season without having to miss a couple weeks at least, or a month in the season. So honestly, the Blue Jays have the offense to get the job done to win a World Series, 100%. But when you line them up against the Yankees or the Dodgers, are they truly better than them? I can't confidently say that they are. The Yankees, I'm not surprised they're slumping. I think the Jays could beat the Yankees. I think a very difficult challenger would be more so the Dodgers and or the Padres now, obviously. So I think the Toronto Blue Jays, they're in a spot where I think they're a little bit behind where people expected. I think they maybe should have had maybe 15 or 20 games above 500 at this point, opposed to 12 or a bit under. I think it's 12, 16, 48, basic math. The Blue Jays, they're in a playoff spot, and all you need in baseball is just to get into the postseason, and anything can happen in October. And the Blue Jays have an offense, and they have a staff that can get hot. I just hope the bullpen can hold it up, because Scotty, I really don't think the bullpen was addressed enough at the deadline. But they did win 2 out of 4 over the Twins this weekend. Very grueling series and a very controversial win yesterday in Minnesota. But going to Baltimore, that's not an easy win anymore at Camden Yards. The Baltimore Orioles they're a feisty team. They remind me a lot like an Ottawa Senators type team. And the reason why I say that and compare it to hockey is because, well, everyone knows I love chatting hockey. But they're that team that's rebuilding, retooling, but they're so difficult to defeat. And the Blue Jays either have an all-star game against them and win by a big margin, or they lose. There really isn't really been any margin of difference throughout the last couple of years if you look at their scores. So I think going into Camden Yards, they have to take the Baltimore Orioles seriously, and it's a very big series in their division. And to pull away, they need to be winning 75% of their games in their next handful plus series to really try to solidify that spot in the wild card. And then I think the Blue Jays can try to seal that home field advantage for the wild card game. I think they will catch up to the Yankees. I don't think they'll beat the Yankees, but I think you'll see the Jays come in within 5 games or so of the Yankees before the end of the season. Bold prediction by yours truly.
David McCaig Jr. joining us on the game. And Dave, we're a little short of time tonight due to having many guests. What's ahead for you, and what has been going on with the Game Sports Show in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario? I know over the past week, a couple uploads. Tell us about that and what's ahead.
We've had a lot of good recent uploads. The special edition upload with James Levinson was great. He played for the Sault Greyhounds, and James did a very nice share on a social media platform, and the traffic to the show has been terrific, so I appreciate that on James's behalf. And it was definitely entertaining. It was recorded by you and myself, Scott.
Yes.
Actually, last summer. There's a little bit of a delay with some of our summer uploads last year just because of some video editing, but you're going to see a lot of these older ones, not older ones, I should say, but about 8 months ago, we did some previous recordings, and James was one of them, and Justin Pogge was the other one. And they're all great additions. You can check it out on the TGM Network platform, YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts. We had a recent Strike Zone edition. Myself and Connor always have a good time. Connor's absolutely amazing when it comes to talking baseball. But coming up, we do have a planned Top Shelf edition to kind of conclude this season's Top Shelf edition before we take a break, before we get into next season with Top Shelf. That is to be determined. There will be a special edition upload coming up. The next one, and I will spoil it here because sometimes I don't, number 55 will be with Rory Fitzpatrick. Obviously, playing with the Buffalo Sabres. That will be uploaded within the next 10 to 14 days, and that will be shared on all social media platforms. So you got a special edition upload coming up. You got another Top Shelf edition, and then you'll have a Strike Zone edition coming up as well. We're aiming for that to be within the next 10 to 14 days as well. So lots of good content coming up from Soo, Ontario. Make sure you hit like, follow, and subscribe on all the platforms. You don't miss anything because, Scott, we got great content, and we got everything local, regional, national, and just interviews, news. Like, we give the listeners what they want to hear.
And that is very much true. And Dave, as always, we appreciate you being part of the team and part of our show here on News Talk 1400. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next Monday night for our next edition of the game here on News Talk 1400.
Sounds great, Scotty, and everyone take care. Have a good rest of your week.
That is David McCaig Jr. joining us, as always, on Monday night. We're going to take a break. We come back. We'll be joined by the voice of the Sault High Blue Devils, Dave Watson, all coming up on the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, The Game, News Talk 1400.
You can catch podcasts of The Game at thegamesportshow.com. Now let's get back to it with Scott Nason on News Talk 1400.
6:32 on The Game, News Talk 1400. Scott Nason with you, and we are now joined, and for the rest of the show, by the voice of Sault High Blue Devil Athletics, Dave Watson, joining us once again on The Game. Prof, as always, thanks for coming in and adding your insight and intellect. Welcome back to The Game, sir.
I don't know if that's my name
Certainly not mine.
I think it nonetheless. Always a pleasure anytime you want me on. If I'm available, I always try to make it. Always a fun time to come on to talk to you about local sports and the whole sports realm, if you will, with Butch, which we'll do a little bit later.
Yes, we will indeed. And Dave, your season is getting underway a little bit earlier over on 1230 WSOO, as today, the first day of practices. 95,000 athletes statewide began practice today for the fall 2022 season across 9 sports, for which the Michigan High School Athletic Association sponsors postseason tournaments. And of course, one of the biggest ones is high school football. And coming up on Saturday, a big football kickoff, the season kickoff for the Sault High Blue Devil football team. Tell us about it.
It's the kickoff breakfast that Sault High football, that the parents are orchestrating in particular at Applebee's. And they'll have a nice breakfast, 8 to 10 a.m. at Applebee's. The players will be the servers there, and that is going to be on Saturday at Applebee's. And Allison Campbell is spearheading this. Back in all the proceeds, or the majority of the proceeds for this event, go to the player pregame meals they do the day before the game. It's become a tradition for several years, typically on Thursday nights, though they're starting the season on Thursday. So the first two will be Wednesdays, but the players' parents put together a pregame meal and get all the groceries and cook it. And it's, of course, a variety of different meals. The Davies really took this to another level, Molly and Brian, years ago, and this has continued to grow and grow. And Allison's taken the helm now with this. Of course, Callan's mom and Gordy Campbell, the defensive coordinator's wife, and we'll be there as well, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Radio Soo. We'll go as long as we can on 1230 WSOO, as long as we'll have people to interview. We'll have, of course, head coach Scott Menard on hand, Allison herself, talk about this event, what it means, and we'll have several players we hope to have on the air. I hope to get Herb Maloney, JV coach, on.
Oh, boy.
He could take up the whole 2 hours.
He could take up the whole 2 hours.
He could take up in between his fourth and fifth plate of pancakes, new athletic director Pat Bennett, perhaps, as well, and whoever else that wants to come on that we can be able to get Mike's side. That would be great on Saturday, and I'll be on hand for that. And 8:05 a.m. right after the news, we'll get it on, and that's coming up on Saturday. And I don't know if you have the particulars over there, the prices. I should have been prepared, Scotty.
It's still August. We still have time yet.
Yes, live radio. But coming up, this is on Saturday, the pancake breakfast. Adults, $8. Kids, 12 and under, $5. Of course, pancakes, sausage links, coffee, water provided. The players, as I mentioned, will be your servers. White and chocolate milk, orange juice available.
Wow.
We'll have a silent auction and a 50-50 raffle. We will be located at our Coach's Corner position on Saturday, because they'll also have the silent auction in the sports bar part, and that's where, of course, we do Coach's Corner. Coach's Corner will return on August 27th, by the way, at Applebee's again this year, but we'll lead things off with the kickoff breakfast on Saturday, and looking forward to that.
Soo High 6-3 last season. Obviously, when you win 6 games, you want to get in the postseason. It didn't happen last year. And Dave, obviously, they lose several players, including quarterback Jake Davey. But from what you know, as far as the returning players and some of the things that you've seen, the schedule's a little tougher this year. What's your thoughts on the Blue Devils heading into this year's football season?
There are some question marks, and it starts at quarterback, and we haven't had to have that question mark in a while at the QB position. Jake Davey, probably the 4-year starter for Soo High, probably started more games than any other Blue Devil quarterback, I would have to think, considering you throw in playoff games in there from year 1 all the way to year 4. That has not been an issue. And coming in, there's a question, I know, coming into camp, who will be the quarterback. They've been splitting snaps, I know, in 7-on-7s, and heading into today between Callan Campbell and Caden Lujan.
Oh, wow.
And that's, and when you have a situation where perhaps you don't have, the guy there to take in, well, what do you do? And they've done this before. We've seen other teams do this, Scotty. You go to your best athletes.
Yep.
And usually the transition is a little more seamless. But we'll see what happens there. That's what I've been hearing. Of course, they have some good veterans coming back. John Burke, who verbally committed to Central Michigan. Yeah. He's heading to Mount Pleasant next year. That's a big signing, especially how early the Chippewas sealed him up. That's pretty impressive. And they're going to be pretty good in the interior. Adam Horrigan is a quality lineman on both sides of the ball. Callan Campbell, of course, a great athlete, whether he's at quarterback or you can get him in the field. And, of course, tremendous defensively. And then you have, and probably why they can look at Callan perhaps at quarterback is because you have Joey Gravel at the tight end position. So, you're not losing completely there. So I think they have some kids coming back that can be competitive, and I think they will be competitive. And like you said, the schedule's getting tougher with this new playoff system. It has to get tougher. They start off with a really good program in Escanaba. They'll see Petoskey in week 8. Those are the two of the changes. Superior Heights of Sioux, Ontario. They come here on a Saturday game that you'll call for us. I'll be out of town. Probably the last year they're going to be in the Northern Michigan Football Conference. They have to do it. It's a great conference, but with the new system, I mean, you're the biggest school in that conference when that conference goes D5 lower, and you just can't do it. I mean, they're playing one Division III school this year in Petoskey. They're Division III now. Soo High is, with the population enrollment changes and with the population of the school up now to 884. They're a Class A school. in the other sports, Division I, if you want to look at, and Division III in football. And then you look at the fact that there only one D3 opponent and one D4 opponent, then it's all 5, 6, and 7. You can't have that in the way this system is, and they know that, and that will be changing after this year.
Blue Devils will definitely want to get off to a good start, Dave. You look at their schedule, weeks 5, 6, and 7 at Kingsley, at Traverse City St. Francis, and home against Petoskey. So you look at those first 5 games: Escanaba, Grayling, Sheboygan, and Superior Heights at home, Ogama Heights on the road. Blue Devils probably want to run the table, obviously, but they can't afford too many early losses because that is a tough end of the season schedule for Soo High.
You want to jump out quickly. They have a potential with Escanaba as far as with recent history. Escanaba struggled last year, but they turn it around, and they're always tough. And it don't matter if, they only have 1 or 2 wins. They're like Marquette. They're just always a battle, and they will turn that program around. And you get them in week 1. If you can sneak a win out of the Banana Belt, that would be great, because then you set it up, to your point, in a good position. You get Grayling at home, Sheboygan, and then you go from there with Ogama Heights on the road and then Superior Heights. You can put yourself in a really good position if you start off good, because as you said, you got the gauntlet to end the year.
Dave Watson joining us on the game, voice of the Soo High Blue Devils. He'll continue to join us when we are joined by Butch Davis coming up here in about 5 or 6 minutes for our roundtable. Dave, a couple rule changes this year. The one probably most likely to be noticed by spectators in football is intentional grounding. This has now been adjusted to allow for a passer to throw an incomplete forward pass to conserve yardage. In essence, to throw the ball away to avoid being tackled for a loss, even when a receiver isn't present near the pass's destination. If the passer is outside the free blocking zone or pocket, and as long as the pass reaches the line of scrimmage or extension of the neutral zone beyond the sideline. This change pretty much mirrors what they have been doing at collegiate and professional levels, and was made to conserve the amount of contact by defensive players with passers. Seems like a no-brainer there to me.
Yeah, that sounds like a good move. And a lot of times, the high school level does do the carbon copy thing of what the collegiate and the pros do. And that's in every sport. And then that one makes a lot of sense, safety wise, time wise, and everything else. I have no problem with that rule change.
Another one with safety in mind, as the chop block, which is still illegal, was redefined to include any combination block by multiple teammates against the same opponent, where one of the blocks is above the waist and the other is below the waist. Previously, the knee instead of the waist was the determining factor on a chop block. This change also is expected to assist officials in enforcing the rule, because deciding if blocks occur above and below the waist is more straightforward than using the knee to decide if an infraction occurred. Again, a minor change, but seems to me makes sense.
No, back to health and safety. And, when you talk health and safety, football is a very violent sport. It's just the way it is. Even with you making all these rules, and it's a lot different from 20 years ago when we were in high school.
Right.
Oh, he just got his bell rung. Well,
Right.
That ain't the case anymore. Yeah. Oh, Johnny Bell, walk it off, rub some dirt on it. Come on. But now it's a new day. And you know what? I have no problem with that one as well.
Soo High Blue Devils will start their football season on the road at Escanaba. That's a Thursday night game, correct, Dave?
Yep,
7 o'clock.
They switched that.
Pregame show, what time?
6:35. We like to go with the kickoff show.
Yep.
That was supposed to be a Friday game. It was all along, and then about a month ago, Escanaba requested it to be moved for the usual reason: lack of officials on Friday night. So they bounced it to Thursday, and usually those first 2 weeks, more than half of the games are on Thursdays. And actually, week 2 for Soo High is a Thursday here in the home opener against Grayling, like last year when they played Tawas. But we'll be on there at 6:35 with Escanaba being the host. And then for our home games, Ryan Wolin will be our new football analyst, replacing the irreplaceable Pat Bennett.
Yes.
Pat, of course, is athletic director, cannot, my own prof rule and his own rule too. Of course, unfortunately, we lose him in that regard, but I think it's a plus for Soo High with him as the athletic director. I think he'll be tremendous there, but we'll have Ryan Wolin with us for hopefully all or majority of our home games.
Dave Watson joining us on the game. Prof, appreciate you joining us and sticking around for the roundtable, which we will get to here in a few minutes, as we will be joined by co-host Butch Davis, host of Butch on Sports, all coming up on the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, The Game, News Talk 1400.
Are you looking to get fit or maybe just stay in shape? The All-in-One Fitness Club can help you with all your fitness wants and needs. Their great facility is fully equipped with locker rooms, saunas, and the best cardio equipment, along with the best plate-loaded and cable equipment around. The All-in-One Fitness Club also offers great deals for senior students, state, and federal employees, all with no yearly contract and no hidden fees. Wow! Come join today upstairs at the Big Bear Arena, where you'll achieve all your fitness goals. For more information on hours and more, go to SueTribeHealth.com. Are you a do-it-yourselfer homeowner or even a professional contractor and need quality electrical supplies? Maybe thinking about doing some upgrades and don't know where to start? Everything Electric has supplied the Eastern Upper Peninsula for over 40 years. Their experienced staff can help you choose the right supplies you need for your home, business, farm projects, or anything in between. Call 906-632-1235 or come in and talk to the experienced guys at Everything Electric, 2893 Ashman, Sioux, Michigan.
Ah, the joys of cooking. Just find a recipe, get the ingredients, preheat the oven. Okay, this is already too much. Pull up Applebee's to go instead. Choose from the whole menu, order and pay online, pick it up, and now you're home with dinner. Ah, the joys of not cooking. Applebee's to go. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Pick up your next meal with Applebee's Carside to Go. Order and pay online, pick up, and head home.
Getting the kids to practice on time. Remembering if it's your day to bring snacks. Making it to the game with a clean jersey. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like whether your kid is going to run toward first or third base. That's simple human sense.
Madigan Pingator, your independent auto owners agency on West Water Street in the Sioux.
Now's the time of the year to get more for your money on a new Mahindra, the world's #1 selling farm tractor. Enjoy 0% financing on select Mahindra tractors. That's more for less on Mahindra's best-selling models. We deliver more lift, better fuel efficiency, and more built-in weight. Paul Thompson here with Gaylor Thompson Sales. Come on in and test drive a new Mahindra today. And remember, we also carry a full line of Boss plows, Cub Cadet, Woods implements, X-Mark mowers, Echo Power equipment, and Doolittle trailers. Give us a call today at 906-478-3026. And remember, I-75, exit 373 in Rudyard for the best service in the EUP.
Let's get back to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Let's get back to the game on News Talk 1400.
6:48 on the game, News Talk 1400. Scott Nason with you as we continue to be joined by special guest Dave Watson, voice of the Sault High Blue Devils over on 1230 WSOO, and now joining us, co-host of the game and host of Butch on Sports, Butch Davis. Brand new edition of Butch on Sports from over the weekend, which you can find on Butch's website. Just go to Simply Butch 2. That's TOO.podomatic.com. You can also find Butch on Sports on Facebook or on our website, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, as Butch joins us each and every week to talk about what's going on not only in the Metro Detroit sports scene, but sports around the world. Butch, how you doing on this Monday night, sir?
I'm beating the heat.
Beating the heat indeed, Butch. And Dave and I were talking about high school football in this area as the practices have begun today for over 95,000 athletes across the state of Michigan. And certainly things a little hotter in your neck of the woods. Here we go again, Butch. The high school football season and fall sports, they're off.
Good luck with that. I say good luck with that. But in a nice little way, it's back to the grind for a whole lot of things: football, volleyball, cross country, you name it. Fall sports are here again. Remind all the kids and especially the coaches that take your time. The heat, you can't beat up the heat, so stay hydrated and do what you're supposed to do there. And don't be afraid to tell your coach if you don't feel right there, and have at it.
Now, Butch, back in your playing days when you were practicing in early August, if that was something that you told your coach back then, what would your coach say?
What would my coach say? Not nothing to me here, because I tell my mama, shoot, my mama be up to the school, shoot. Hey, that was just the way it is there. If you're honest with your coach and whatever may be, or how you feel, how you doing, especially if you're on the team already there, you'll get some mileage out of that there. But when you're being dishonest, playing when you're hurt or something of that nature where something is more serious, that's when things can get pretty cranky.
Gentlemen, let's start with Major League Baseball and the Detroit Tigers. Butch, I'll go to you first. The Detroit Tigers' struggles continue on the field this week as they started the week losing 2 of 3 at Minnesota and came home and dropped 3 of 4 to the Tampa Bay Rays. Yesterday, all-star relief pitcher Jeffrey Soto was 1 out away from sending the game to the bottom of the 9th inning scoreless. And then things unraveled. He walked 2 batters with the bases loaded. The Rays would go on to score 7 2-out runs and take the finale of the series 7-0 over the Detroit Tigers. Tigers now dead last in the AL Central with a 43-67 record. They'll host Cleveland for 3 starting tomorrow night, and then in the Windy City for a weekend set against the Chicago White Sox. All was not lost for the Tigers this weekend. We'll get to that in a moment, Butch. But just overall, the Tigers on the field continue to struggle. Your thoughts?
Well, there's nothing to think about. I think this is a washed-up season because of management and upper management, okay? And that's just plain and simple there. They didn't plan this out right. There's a lot of things. One of the little bugs that we talked about, some of the media did, is who's taking care of these kids there, because of the big rash of injuries and whatnot going on with the Tigers, especially the pitching staff. So in that case, there's a lot of things that have to be fixed there. There's a lot of reasoning on how they do things in the Detroit Tigers. Organization that needs to change there. It's not fair for them to be the last place champ. But this is right now, Allenville has 7 years right now to get this team in order to make it right for the fans and something enjoyable. These fans want to see winners. They don't want to see all the time they losing and a bunch of excuses. Then when those questions are asked, they run out the back door. So right now, that's where it's staying with Detroit fans there. When you're winning or something special, they will show up as a per Saturday there. Sold out place. Although 40,000 only showed up, but that's still better than what they've been seeing all year long at the Lou Whitaker. I'm glad that particular game did not go down the toilet there, as they did win 9-1 on that particular there. But again, with other things going on, it's just like business as usual. No one cares. You can see it on the players and the effort they put out. They're not giving a doggone anymore. So some things have to be changed. And someone has to stand up and say, change is necessary.
And Dave, we'll get to Lou Whitaker here in a moment, but you were down with your wife, Connie, to catch Saturday and Sunday's game. Just your thoughts on the Tigers on the field. Certainly you saw a great game on Saturday. Sunday, not so much.
Well, and Sunday was basically what we've been seeing all along. And, Butch hit the nail right on the head, with this team and just the absolute, train wreck this upper management has been with this organization. And it's all the way up to ownership. It's like, does anybody care here? And Butch pointed it out, Al Avila's been there for 7 years. And I like to point out longer than Matt Millen was there. And we remember, everybody wanted Matt Millen gone. It's like, what's it going to take to get this guy on a bus ticket out of town. I mean, it's just, he has this absolutely, just player development wise and trades. And I almost got sick to my stomach when I realized, the Major League Baseball draft's coming up. Oh, wait a minute. Al Avila's making these draft picks. It's almost like you want to take them, put headphones on him like a little kid, with Looney Tunes playing. Here's a coloring book. Go in the corner and let, competent people, if they have such a thing, and I'm sure they do within that organization, but nothing's going to change until they, finally realize, or they finally care that they're going to make a change. Butch hits it on the head there. It was very nice on Saturday that they won. I was there. It was electric atmosphere. My favorite all-time player is Lou Whitaker, and I wanted to see Lou, get that honor bestowed, which it was long, long overdue, and hopefully the Hall of Fame's around the corner too. That was a fun night. And I remember sitting there, as Butch alluded to it, I was thinking, please let them play well tonight.
Yes.
Please don't lay another egg like they did on Friday. And then, of course, on Sunday. And they did. The night was great, and they capped off with the victory. But then again on Sunday, it was, back to business as usual.
And on Saturday, as you guys both mentioned, no Detroit Tiger will ever wear the number 1 again. That's because the Tigers unveiled Lou Whitaker's number on the brick wall in left center field before their game against the Tampa Bay Rays on Saturday. Whitaker, the 9th Tiger to have his number retired, joining his former teammates Alan Trammell and Jack Morris, as well as former manager Sparky Anderson on the bricks. Butch, certainly was a fun event to watch on television. I would imagine you were there, and Dave hit the nail on the head, and you've alluded to it in past shows. Long, long overdue.
I'm telling you like it is, like we did on Saturday there. If you notice, and Dave was there, normally when they unveil those portraits and all this other good stuff, Al Avila or the owner of the Detroit Tigers would be out there doing that.
Yep.
They sat in their seats like they belonged. They didn't make a speech, which I was happy about. And that number 11 that Sparky Anderson is wearing should be shared by another player, indeed, and I say that Bill Freehand. I think it's a travesty that the Tigers organization, again, not getting everything right there. Mickey Lolich belongs up there too. But again, I don't spoil the thing for Lou Whitaker. I was happy for him and what it may be. But again, it shows how backward and how behind that this organization is when it comes down to hiring our better players there.
And Dave, you and I had the same age group growing up in Michigan. Trammell to Whitaker, double play combination, 19 years, the best ever in baseball, and probably something we'll never see again. Just to have two players play 19 years on the same team, let alone a shortstop and second baseman. Whitaker was my favorite player for the Tigers. Certainly had to be a lot of fun watching that live.
Well, and, it was. I remember watching as a kid. My parents, I was fortunate enough to brought me to a few games back in the mid-'80s. And I remember the first time going to seeing Lou play. It was after they won the World Series in '85. I was only 10 years old and aging myself
yes,
there.
Me
but,
too.
Nonetheless, I remember saying to my mom when, Lou would come up and you'd have a packed house. And, at first I'm all puzzled, because I thought they were booing. I said, Mom, why are they booing him? No, they're saying Lou. And from that point forward, he was my favorite player. Trammell was a tremendous player. And not only that, but gentlemen.
Yes.
Class acts. I mean, we talk about, athletes and how you want to see them, how the embodiment of being class acts and how they carry themselves. Those two guys represented the city of Detroit and the Tigers organization just very well. And, you wish you could see everybody act the way they did. I mean, just great guys on top of it. Lou, I don't think you could take that smile off his face all weekend long with a blowtorch, but I agree with what Butch said. The Tigers are not very good, and that might be being generous as far as respecting and paying homage to great players. And, he mentioned Bill Freehand, Mickey Lolich. Absolutely.
Got to put him in.
You got to put him in. Look how long, for a while, Willie Horton, I want to say that's just within the last 10 years, if I'm recanting right. That should have, that was long overdue. So, Butch absolutely hit the nail on the head on that.
And that would never happen unless some compassion was for Mr. Illich bringing and luring Willie Horton back to Detroit there. If Willie Horton would have stayed a Tiger, he would have left Al Kaline's home run record by a mile, okay, here. But again, that's the compassion of maybe Mr. Illich had for baseball, which, by the way, he was a player as well in the professional ranks of baseball. Maybe that's what's missing here, the knack of maybe Mr. Illich's son, who's now running the team, have a knack on learning some history about baseball and getting into the grits and the grinds of what's going on. It's better for him to maybe start getting himself a little dirty here and polishing up on some history about baseball and whatever it may be, besides running there as a snob that he is and going around and not getting it done and speaking on this manager that he hired to basically do nothing for the fans of the city of Detroit.
Butch, you're exactly right. And the other thing too, and I'm sure you and Scott talked about it, and I'm sure you talked about it on your podcast, and other Detroit area media certainly have brought it up. And that is, what really struck me was, and I'm not alone in this, is when the Red Wings announced Derek Lalonde as the coach, and Chris is there and he's saying, well, I think the rebuild's going well with theRed Wings, as he's introducing a new head coach.
Right.
So, okay, well, that's a weird statement.
Well.
It got even straight.
He knows how do you spell it? He knows it all. I think he's there for whatever you need, and don't bother me anymore. I'm going to the casino to lose some of my money and daddy's money and mommy's money. I don't know what the deal is here, but he needs to be a lot more vocal than what he is about what he sees and what the fans see and what's not happening with the Detroit Tigers. Again, 7 years, okay? And you're making all these deals and whatnot, which basically not paying out the crap. I mean, Torkelson right now is in the minor league, and he should have a gold glove for saving doggone Javier Baez's miscues and throwing the ball in the dirt. I mean, what's going on with this?
Well, he's just absolutely tone deaf. And, of course, that same statement, he piggybacked it with, I think the Tigers rebuild's going well. It's like, are you watching the games? Or 20 games below 500?
Yeah, 23.
And Butch is right about, those free agent signings. I didn't care for them. I really think Javi Baez has seen his best days behind him. Eduardo Rodriguez, there's a reason why the Red Sox wouldn't re-sign him. Yep. They didn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. Now we see why. And there's issues going on, obviously, with him. We wish him the best as personal life, but he was like a third, maybe a mid-range starter,
sure.
A 3-4 guy. They give him all the money in the world, just like they did with Jordan Zimmerman, and they didn't learn from that. We could go on and on, but it's a train wreck right now, and you just hope that the bleeding can stop at some point.
Well,
because during this draft, he drafts no one from the state of Michigan. What kind of clown is this doggone ball club is? We've been known for every team that we've seen a championship there. The majority of the players or the people they're drafted in Detroit. They're drafted in Sault Ste. Marie. They're drafted in Kalamazoo, Lansing. They didn't pick one player from the state of Michigan? What's the deal?
That is a good question, and we have to cut it short because we're running a little short of time here. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break for the top of the hour. When we come back, we'll talk more Detroit Tigers and Major League Baseball, all coming up on the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, The Game, News Talk 1400.
Central Savings Bank, ask what we can do for you.
Central Savings Bank has been your hometown bank since 1902. They live where you live, and they're here to help. With 9 locations to serve you, they're everywhere you need them to be. Account options such as checking, savings, and retirement accounts. Apply online for personal, home, and business loans. Enjoy conveniences like online banking, CSB Loan Pay Express, instant issue debit cards, mobile wallet, and remote deposit capture. Central Savings Bank has all the conveniences you need and want in today's fast-paced world. Visit one of their 9 locations, see their helpful smiling faces, and get started by asking what the CSB family can do for you. Bank with the best. Bank with Central Savings Bank.
Central Savings Bank. Ask what we can do for you.
Let's get to the second half of the game on News Talk 1400 WKNW Sault Ste. Marie. It's the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Now, here's Scott Nason.
And welcome back for hour 2 of the game on News Talk 1400 as we continue to be joined by our special guest, the voice of the Soo High Blue Devils, Dave Watson, and co-host of the game, Butch Davis. Gentlemen, one more Tigers note before we move on to some other Major League Baseball activities. Miguel Cabrera, a little unsure earlier last week of his health would allow him to return for another year, and certainly that got a lot of people's interest. Cabrera did tell reporters later last week that he does plan to play for the 2023 season. But I'll go to you first, Butch. You know, obviously Miguel Cabrera is still doing very good this year. Do you want to see a player extend his career where they start to deteriorate? Because really Cabrera has not done that. What are your thoughts on Miguel Cabrera, his health, and moving forward?
His health is deteriorating, especially when it comes down to on his knees. His knees are not very well there. Thank you. But again, the competitor that he is, they cut down his load. He's not playing the infield anymore in any position, third or first. And it's sickening because, again, if you're winning, takes care of a whole lot of pain, okay? And when you lose, it seems like that pain just grinds in and grind in and grind in there until you can't take it anymore there. And the positivity is not there. But, again, I think the Detroit News article that did hit, I did see that particular individual at the ball game this weekend there, and he kind of apologized. He kind of miscanted and broke a story that basically didn't need to be broken because a lot of things were not clarified in this interview or in talking to them. You know, it's a thing called maybe athletes trust in the press to a certain extent, and certain things don't get out. You know, unless they say, can I quote you on that? But in this case, everything has to be clarified with the ownership and whatever it may be. And he promised that basically he would do his time. And right now, they were honest in saying, you know, we're going to have to watch his step. You know, he can't go out there and hurt every doggone day and do the things he do for this team because he's the only one that's doing it right now on the consistent note and still be laid out on the stretcher maybe 4 or 5 doggone days later for maybe the rest of the year. So they're going to watch what he does, and they're going to watch his conversation. They're going to watch certain things that happens with him in order for him to be at his best and not have to be negative. But right now, it doesn't help matters a lot when you see the record that the Tigers have right now. That's not making things any more pleasurable when it comes down to being on this team.
And Dave, Butch hit the nail on the head, in my opinion. You know, the aches and pains are always worse when you're 23 games below 500. And you think of if all the players on the Detroit Tigers had the character and the effort that Miguel Cabrera does playing through injuries, this team would be a lot better. You know, obviously first ballot Hall of Famer. He more than likely will have his number retired by the Detroit Tigers. But you know what? He's pushing 40 years old. And you know what? You know, bodies start to, you know, go downhill in athletics and just in general. Your thoughts on Miguel Cabrera?
Well, when I saw that article, I thought the same thing that Butch and you and everybody else probably thought is like, yeah, you know, he's probably said it after a game and, they had maybe 2 hits and this offense has been anemic and they're just struggling and he puts everything he can into the games. And like Butch said, you know, that knee throbbing gets even worse when you're, 23 games below 500. If you're the New York Yankees right now or the Dodgers, that needs just a tweak, but it really comes out and makes it worse when you're struggling. It just doesn't, and it's not going to get any better this season. And, I understand his frustration and, and that whole thing. I'm glad it was clarified right away. And you know what? I want to see him ride off in the sunset like a Derek Jeter. He deserves that. And I want to see him come back next year as long as he's healthy and get the applause, for that last year and ride off in the sunset because, he deserves it. And like you said, number 24 is going to be up on that brick wall here very soon.
Major League Baseball over this past week lost a legend on the mic as Los Angeles Dodgers announcer Vin Scully passed away on Tuesday at the age of 94. I was actually at the San Francisco Giants game against the Dodgers when that was announced at the end of the game, and a class act by the San Francisco fans. They all gave a standing ovation when they put that on the board. Scully, the voice of the Dodgers for more than 60 years before he retired in October 2016, announced more than 9,000 games. And the LA Dodgers paid tribute to Vin Scully on Friday at Dodger Stadium. Butch, I'll go to you first. Vin Scully tops my list of baseball announcers. I'm a little partial to Ernie Harwell growing up listening to Tigers baseball, but boy, Vin Scully, he did it as good as anyone in my opinion. Your thoughts?
I'm sorry, but I explained on my show yesterday there. As good as you want to say Vince Scully, which he was marvelous entertainer in television and announcing and doing other things as well. There's a whole circuit of other announcers who do it just as well. You can't sit up there and backdoor Ernie Harwell. You can't sit up there and backdoor Van Patrick. You can't sit up there and backdoor Chick Hearns, Bill Shiley of the Portland Trail Blazers, Bob Prince, in Pittsburgh. You can't backdoor those particular individuals who, what they get. Joe Gargiola was another one that had a lot of notoriety and how he did things and whatnot on television and broadcasting that made things more complete. I don't know. I just can't commit to saying he's the best of all time or whatever it may be. I just say he's one of the best and most nice person that I have ever met in person. I know when I saw him for the first time, I said, Mr. Scully, and he said, please, Butch, call me Vince. I had no reason to do that, but he did. And he went out of his way to let me know that, we're here for a profession, but we're here to support one another as well. I mean, he was always that supportive. I met him 3 times in my lifetime there. He always been that notable guy. But when I first noticed Vince Scully, I had no idea it was as a little kid. They had a game show on called It Takes Two.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and Vince Scully was the host. And that's how I got to know Vince Scully. Not because of his announcer skills, because I was a little kid, about 7 or 8 years old, watching a game show on TV. But that's how I got to know Vince Scully.
Dave, Vin Scully passing away, one of the best. I put him at the top of my list, just my opinion. But your thoughts on Mr. Scully?
He's my all-time favorite. I mean, and everybody likes Ernie Harwell. A little bias. Ernie Harwell was tremendous. Ernie Harwell was a great radio, broadcaster. You said Vin Scully. You mentioned it off the air. If Vin could call a game by himself, just as good as anybody. Ernie did it well as well. But I got to, really like Vin when he was on NBC, and Butch alluded to it. Him and Joe Gargiola together. That was a fantastic tandem. I don't like to use the term, all-time, but all-time greatest. He's on the Mount Rushmore with, all kinds of, like Keith Jackson for me with college football.
Oh, Nelly.
And, the thing I liked about Vin, everybody says baseball was, which that's where he hung his hat. But, a lot of people don't. He was a really good football announcer.
The catch, San Francisco.
The catch, he called that. Yeah. He called a really good football game. He was a pretty good football broadcaster and golf. And golf as well. He was so he was multifaceted, but he's certainly on the Mount Rushmore. And Butch mentioned this as well. Just a gentleman, an absolute gentleman. You don't get that all the time, egos and different things, but he didn't forget who he was. There's no question about it, but he's certainly on the Mount Rushmore.
Well, speaking of Mount Rushmore, Dave, a very good segue into a topic that I wanted to talk about. We haven't done Mount Rushmore for a while on the game, and you guys went to a ballpark this past weekend. I was in San Francisco catching a couple Giants games this past week, and so the question I have for your Mount Rushmore, we'll start with Butch, and we'll do our first of the best ballparks that you've attended a ball game. This is baseball. Could be a current park, could be a park that's no longer in existence, whatever. So, Butch, I'm going to go to you first. You have 4 to choose from. What's your first entrant into Butch Davis's Mount Rushmore of ballparks that he's attended?
The Seattle ballpark, number 1. That's on Mount Rushmore. Indeed, that ballpark is fabulous there. Everything is covered when it's cold or when it's raining a lot up in there. It's just a comfortable place to play. And majority of the time, the roof is open. It's real grass out there. But again, the convenience is when the weather's in climate is always there as well to protect the players and also the staff and also the people who go and pay to see. That'll be one. Do you want all 4?
No, we'll do one at a time, Butch. I think that's a good pick. I have not been to Seattle's park, but it certainly looks good on the telly. Dave, we'll go to you next. You've been to probably a ton of more ballparks than I have. What's your first entrant into Dave Watson's Mount Rushmore of ballparks that he's attended a game?
Target Field, Minnesota. It's intimate. I enjoy everything about it. It's, I like the atmosphere around it. As far as, the ambiance, it's a really nice, cozy ballpark, and they got it right. And that's probably my favorite of the ones that I've been to, and I've been to several, but that's number 1.
I'll put Fenway Park on the list. Now, I've only been to 11 ballparks, and only 5 of them are currently still in existence. And Fenway Park, to me, I got to go there last year. Just obviously tradition. You got the Green Monster. It's not a huge capacity, and there's not really a bad seat in the house, at least where I was at. And so I would put Fenway Park on my list to start my Mount Rushmore of ballparks that I've attended. And you can use the same ones, so you don't have to not use one if one of the other folks here used a ballpark. So, Butch, what's your second entrant into Butch Davis's Mount Rushmore of ballparks?
Okay. Let's say Minute Maid Park is a nice place to go there as far as watching the game as well. Again, it's a retractable stadium that basically, in the majority of days, it's open. However, when it's very hot and brutally hot down there in Texas, the place is closed and the air conditioning is blowing. The comfort is there. The ambiance is great. And, the excitement is there. People do come to see it because, again, the inclement nature of the heat and the weather down there in Texas doesn't bother everybody. Everybody's comfort is at mine. So I would say Minute Maid Park.
And they have a train, I believe, in that one.
They do.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, it works. Exactly. Dave, what's your second entrant into your Mount Rushmore of ballparks that you've seen a game at?
Oriole Park at Camden Yards. That's a real cool place. Years ago, my wife and I started, because we go to, all kinds of Tiger games, and we just decided we're going to pick one of the, we always used to go to 2 games type of thing because, of course, the travel from Sault Ste. Marie to Detroit. But we decided to go on a road trip every year to a different ballpark. And we started it in 2013 with Oriole Park, and a pretty good one to start off with. If you've never been there, it's a cool place. Of course, you got, the big warehouse out in right field. It really is a neat place. That's on my Mount Rushmore, Oriole Park.
I went to the old Memorial Stadium back in 85 where Willie Hernandez blew a save, and we had a bunch of drunk fans behind us. I started crying. My dad got all involved. It was not fun. So that one is not on my list. I would have Camden Park if I was there, Dave, but I'm going to put Wrigley Field. Again, you're going to see a theme with my picks, at least the first 3, as far as the old traditional ballparks. And I got a chance to see a couple games in Chicago with my good friend Jeff, who lived there at the time. He lived just a few blocks from Wrigley Field, and tradition, it can't be beat. Maybe Fenway can beat it, but it's pretty close. So I got Wrigley Field on my list of Mount Rushmore ballparks that I would pick. And Butch, we'll go to your pick for number 3.
The 3 here. Number 3 will be Milwaukee. I like that ballpark as well. Again, climate induced, great audience of people, real grass out there. just a fun place to go, and some of the food in there is tremendous there. I was always surprised at being so friendly, but it's very friendly in there. Miller Park is number 3.
I want to see you go down that slide, Butch.
I love to go down that damn slide 2 or 3 times.
Dave, your third pick.
There.
Yeah, exactly. Dave, your third pick for your Mount Rushmore of ballparks.
Butch can race Bertie Brewer, the brewer there.
Yeah.
That slide.
I like it.
I whooped that man's rear end and stuff, man. Take his clothes, too.
Tug out his mustache. Cincinnati's, what is it still the Great American Ballpark? It was. That's a really nice park, and everything around it. You got restaurants right there, and they really built it up nice. We went there last year, Labor Day weekend, for when the Tigers played a series there, and we had a lot of fun. That's a really good ballpark, the Great American Ballpark.
Good pick, Dave. My third pick, no longer in existence, at least the stadium. Tiger Stadium. Got to go to a lot of games growing up there. I remember going with my dad and my parents, I should say, and another family, and they got stuck behind the pole. We luckily did not get stuck behind the pole. And anytime you went to a game at Tiger Stadium, again, the tradition, the atmosphere, I remember going to a game just before it closed, sat back row bleachers. They were playing the St. Louis Cardinals with Mark McGuire and watching batting practice. That certainly will have to be on my list, Tiger Stadium. Butch, your final pick in your Mount Rushmore of ballparks that you've been to.
You know, this Mount Rushmore thing is getting a little boring there because there's a whole heck of a lot of great places to go there.
Sure.
And I got a slew for them because I've been in a lot of parks. I'm going to say Tiger Stadium would be my last one there because that's where I got exposed to a whole lot of goodies there. And not because the ambiance there, it was probably one of the worst places to see a game when you had the poles in the way and everything. But when that place was avid, when my first bat day that I went into Tiger Stadium, or a free ball day, or free club day, you know, and all those kids there, you got 40,000 kids, about maybe 14,000 of the parents who brought them there and whatever it may be. And the audience was just so electric, okay? And then one thing to say about it, wasn't the first 10,000 get a gift or something. Everyone who walked in that doggone door who was a kid or whatever me got something, okay? And that's a tip-off to the old management staff over there at Tiger Stadium. They made sure everyone was taken care of, not just the chosen few. This past weekend, the first 10,000 get a doggone jersey. I ain't seen nobody wear them. You know, they use them for toilet paper or something there, but that's wrong, okay? For 40,000 people paying their doggone money, why can't everyone get a jersey? You know, I don't understand that. Again, management, and that's what kicks off a good stadium. It's the public relations that go with it.
Dave, your final pick on your Mount Rushmore of ballparks that you've attended a game.
I'll make it a trifecta, Tiger Stadium, you know, and that's where I fell in love with baseball, and of course fell in love with the Tigers, you know, back in the day when they were winning a lot of baseball games, and that was a fun place to be in. Like you know, Butch said, you know, you had the poles and it had the strange ambiance, but at the same time, when that place was packed, it was kind of like Joe Louis Arena was similar to it. I mean, I don't know if you could, in Michigan Stadium, it could probably throw in there as well. You'd be hard pressed to find louder, you know, stadiums. That place was rocking, and you'd have Jack Morris, you know, flame throwing, and Gibby would hit it in the upper deck. That place was something else. You know, Tiger Stadium has a special place in my heart as well.
Very well said. My final pick, I've only been to 3 newer parks, Comerica Park, the new Comiskey, or whatever it's called now in Chicago, but I'm going to put Oracle Park in San Francisco. Very pleasantly surprised by that ballpark. You know, seen it on TV, obviously, but just a great place to watch a baseball game. Obviously, you have McCovey Cove in the background, and, you know, you're along the waterfront, never too hot at Oracle Park, as San Francisco this time of year, not the warmest, but a great place to watch a game. A little pricey by my book, but it is what it is. I would put Oracle Park on my Mount Rushmore. Gentlemen, we got to take a break. We come back. We will move on to the Detroit Lions and more. All coming up on the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, The Game, News Talk 1400.
MNC Water Systems has a solution for all your water needs. Want clean, fresh drinking water? MNC Water Systems proudly distributes Norway Springs artesian water, bottled right here in the Upper Peninsula. Cooler rental and bottled water delivery for your home and office are available. MNC Water Systems is offering contactless delivery right to your door, as well as curbside pickup. Call Mo at MNC Water Systems today at 906-647-7307, serving the Eastern UP for over 25 years.
O'Connor's Chrysler Dodge Truck and Jeep in Pickford is your full-service dealership, servicing Pickford and the surrounding areas with pride for more than 50 years. O'Connor's top-notch body shop includes a state-of-the-art frame straightener. O'Connor's is also a proud supporter of community events. Its sales team has the experience to know which model is right for each customer. And with financing available to back your purchase, you can drive away today in your dream vehicle. Local people, local pride. Stop in today on M129 at O'Connor.
Are you looking to get fit or maybe just stay in shape? The All-in-One Fitness Club can help you with all your fitness wants and needs. Their great facility is fully equipped with locker rooms, saunas, and the best cardio equipment, along with the best plate-loaded and cable equipment around. The All-in-One Fitness Club also offers great deals for senior students, state, and federal employees, all with no yearly contract and no hidden fees. Wow! Come join today upstairs at the Big Bear Arena, where you'll achieve all your fitness goals. For more information on hours and more, go to SueTribeHealth.com. Are you a do-it-yourselfer homeowner or even a professional contractor and need quality electrical supplies? Maybe thinking about doing some upgrades and don't know where to start? Everything Electric has supplied the Eastern Upper Peninsula for over 40 years. Their experienced staff can help you choose the right supplies you need for your home business, farm projects, or anything in between. Call 906-632-1235 or come in and talk to the experienced guys at Everything Electric, 2893 Ashman, Sioux, Michigan.
You can catch podcasts of The Game at thegamesportshow.com. Now let's get back to it with Scott Nason on News Talk 1400.
7:26 on The Game, News Talk 1400. Scott Nason with you as we continue to be joined by our special guest, the voice of Soo High Blue Devil Athletics, Dave Watson, and co-host and host of Butch on Sports, Butch Davis. Gentlemen, let's move on to the National Football League as the majority of the exhibition game openers will begin this week. The Lions will be in action Friday at Ford Field as they will take on the Atlanta Falcons. And over the weekend, about 18,000 fans were at Ford Field on Saturday to watch the Detroit Lions in action, a practice, if you will, and certainly lots of excitement again for the Detroit Lions this year. They're going to be on Hard Knocks. That first episode will be tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Head coach Dan Campbell was wearing a hat Saturday emblazoned with the word grit, and grabbed the microphone and addressed the crowd. And he said, what makes Detroit special is the fact that, man, you guys will roll your sleeves up and put in a hard day's work. And I think we want to model ourselves after that. I'll tell you what, you'd give your coat to somebody in the winter that needed it. That is what community is all about. Butch, Detroit Lions entering preseason. I know you've been around the team more than Dave and I. What are your thoughts?
No thoughts. They're working hard. I think the losing mentality and changing of the culture of losing and accepting it is kind of rubbing a little bit. Again, proof of the pudding's in its taste, and we haven't got to the regular season yet to find out how this is going to materialize there. They normally, the Lions do pretty great in preseason also. But again, that doesn't do a doggone thing when it comes down to the regular season. So I'm just that kind of guy. I look, I notice the body language on the field when they practice. I don't have too much to ask anyone, maybe 2 or 3 maybe players when I go to a practice or something, how's it going along, how's the health, and whatever it may be. But, you know, to really make an accusation of and a commitment of saying this is going to be a really great team, I can't do it right now. I'm just going to watch it bits and pieces and how they put this machine together for the 2022 season there.
That's where I'm kind of at as well, Dave. Trying to be optimistic, but again, being a Lions fan, you have to be realistic. And over the past, 50 years, I guess you could say, things have not gone very well for the Detroit Lions. I will say I'm starting to buy in a little more to head coach Dan Campbell. Wasn't quite sure at first, but maybe he's the right fit for a team like this. What are your thoughts?
Well, players certainly love him. It appears that way anyways. And, I think, you take baby steps and you look at this situation with them that, at the end of last year, I thought they finished the season strong. It appeared, stronger because it certainly didn't look good at the beginning. And I think Butch is right. You have to take a wait and see approach. There's certain teams in the NFL that you have to do that. And, my Cleveland Browns are in that same boat. You got to take the wait and see approach. You can't get excited and pumped up for it because then you're going to have disappointment. But I think they're heading in the right direction. I like the front office makeup. I think they've done some good things as far as with the team, as far as putting this team together, and Dan Campbell certainly gets you revved up for a game. But I think they're heading in the right direction. But we'll see, like Butch said.
And we'll have Friday night's game on our sister station, Oldies at 93, starting at the pregame show, I believe, around 5 o'clock. You can catch that action. Butch, I'll go to you first, and then Dave on this one. This Deshaun Watson thing continues to be a very sticky situation. The NFL has now appealed. Yeah, has now appealed the 6-game suspension of Deshaun Watson. The Cleveland Browns obviously are sticking with him, I guess, for lack of a better term. They're waiting until more clarity on the situation evolves, according to head coach Kevin Stefanski. Today, running back Kareem Hunt, who was seeking a contract extension, requested a trade from the Browns, but the team has privately declined that request, according to ESPN. And so I just wanted your thoughts, Butch, on this Deshaun Watson situation. He's going to miss 6 games at least, but the NFL wants more. What are your thoughts?
I don't know how to judge this particular situation because I heard the whole case in Dow, and the Houston management, the Houston Texans, that is management, who suggested these places where he should go to get these massages and all. No one talks about that there. And there has to be a particular reason why Houston picked those particular places that the law knew, and most of the general public knew there was some wacky things going on in those particular places other than a regular and professional body massage. Now, as far as Mr. Watson's professionalism and going in those places to get the massages that he's supposed to get, rather than he went over the line and dealing in that there, it wasn't private anymore when those ladies came out and said, this is what we done and this is how much money he gave me or whatever it may be, or maybe they didn't get enough or thought they can get a lot more. I don't know how to really gauge on that particular situation. So I'm not going to go to bat and say the guy needs 1 year worth of suspensions in there, but you can bet your bottom dollar it's going to be very close to 1 year. If not, he might get 12 weeks of penance, okay, before he can be able to play the rest of the game and whatnot there. But again, we got to wait and see what the verdict is going to be. Whatever it is, and Mr. Watson is deserving of serving that particular penalty. I will say that in doubt there.
Dave, certainly has to be very mixed emotions for you being a Cleveland Browns fan. The NFL, seems bound and determined to appeal this 6-game suspension, and then obviously puts the Browns in a bit of a quandary with Jacoby Brissett as a potential starting quarterback for at least half, if not more, of the season. Your thoughts?
Well, I think I said on this show when we talked about this before, as a Browns fan, I did not like this trade. I did not like it one bit. Now, granted, I was at the point where, it was time to look for another situation at the quarterback position, because I just didn't think Baker Mayfield was the guy that could get you to that level of talking about Super Bowls. And when you have a roster that is talented as they have, the one position that was a question and continues to be is that quarterback. Obviously on the field, he's right there. But the bottom line here is the money, the guaranteed money they gave him, and the fact that, this dark cloud of, doubt is going to be there. Even after, he has the suspension, you're going to wonder, okay, what's he doing now? He clearly has a problem. I mean, Butch is right with what he said, what the Texans did. And I think there's some culpability and all that. But at the same time, he did something wrong. And he clearly has an issue. And, with my main job, I deal with CSC, offenders.
Right.
This is something that can go dormant, but it's not out of their system. He clearly did something. And that's a concern to me as a Browns fan. And you look at it, Butch brought up the whole suspension thing. I think it's going to be 12 or more.
I do too.
I think this whole thing is a joke, because I will say this: why did you have that arbiter if you're going to appeal it, and you know what they're going to do on the appeal? And when it's the first one, it's not sending a good message. And I think it's really going to leave a bad taste in the mouth of the players' union. So going forward, when you look at collective bargaining, this is going to be brought up. The other thing is, Goodell wants to stick it to the Browns, just like he wanted to stick it to the Cowboys and the Patriots. He's got the Browns on his bullseye board. And why? Because he hears all these owners saying, what's going on here? Watson gets the highest contract guaranteed. What about, now my guy's going to be knocking on the door, and it's this guy. He's hearing that. And so he's out to stick it to the Haslams and the Browns here because of what they did. And hey, they made their bed, and now they got to deal with it.
College football will begin in about a month. Today, Cale Gundy, who was a fixture on the Oklahoma sideline and the longest tenured football coach in the Big 12, resigned on Sunday night after saying that he read aloud, quote, "a word that I never should under any circumstance have uttered," off the screen of a player's iPad during a film session last week. He said he noticed the player, who was supposed to be taking notes during a film session, was distracted, and it said he picked up the player's iPad and read the words on the screen, including the unspecified term. According to Gundy, the unfortunate reality is that someone in my position can cause harm without ever meaning to do so. In that circumstance, a man of character accepts accountability. I take responsibility for this mistake. I apologize. But it wasn't enough, as Cale Gundy now gone in Oklahoma. Butch, just your thoughts. You got to be careful what you tweet. You got to be careful what you post. And apparently, you got to be careful what you read off a player's iPad.
Yeah, you kind of maybe got messed up our alumnus or something there, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And they went to the board and said, hey, this guy got to go. What right do he have to take this guy's iPad and read all his personal thoughts? Whatever they were, you can probably guarantee the coach probably was right. It was very inappropriate at the time and the place where he's using this particular apparatus to take football notes instead of doing other things there. And he used him as an example and read off everything he had on that particular there. And it didn't shoot very well, maybe not to the players per se who were maybe doing the same thing. But again, alumnus and whatnot get a whiff of something that they're very near and dear to maybe a player or a player's parents or whatever it may be. And, I would love to hear more about what really happened other than the utterance of words that I did not get to read, and I'm still looking forward to what did he say in order for him to just want to walk out the door, just like that, okay? And I don't know if it's a mind of discipline or whatever it may be. Again, I can't judge it because, again, I don't know what was said or the words or the particular words that really messed him up when he picked up that kid's iPad.
And Dave, it goes to another point, and I always stress this to my kids. You have to be careful what you post and what you say. In our profession, broadcasting, all it takes is one slip up and you're done. It's just another example of you really just have to be careful and maybe think a little bit before you say something. Credit Gundy, he apologized. He obviously knew he made a bad mistake, so I give him credit for that. But you just have to be careful in these situations.
Times they are changing.
Yes.
And, back, 20 years ago before social media, you imagine, you asked Butch earlier about, at his play days, with coaches, same could be said, things that coaches said to you back 20 years ago, a lot different than now. And the window of what you can say is pretty narrow. And, you got to be very careful with these kind of things. And that's a pure example of it right there.
And the parents do keep up with these kids and whatnot, and, not their little Joey or little Mary or whatever it may be get in trouble, and they could be getting in trouble ever since they've been in school. But again, when it goes public, okay, and as you said it before, Scott, you got to watch what you do and how you do it. There's a whole lot of diplomacy that you need to use when you're only dealing with a kid or someone at the age where their responsibility is lower than a pea.
Gentlemen, we got to take our final break of the night, but we come back. We will talk about another legend passing away over the past week, Bill Russell, along with what's going on with the University of Michigan's former hockey coach Mel Pearson, and whatever else we can fit in. All coming up on the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, The Game, News Talk 1400.
Ah, the joys of cooking. Just find a recipe, get the ingredients, preheat the oven. Okay, this is already too much. Pull up Applebee's to go instead. Choose from the whole menu, order and pay online, pick it up, and now you're home with dinner. Ah, the joys of not cooking. Applebee's to go. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Pick up your next meal with Applebee's Carside to Go. Order and pay online, pick up, and head home.
Getting the kids to practice on time. Remembering if it's your day to bring snacks. Making it to the game with a clean jersey. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like whether your kid is going to run toward first or third base. That's simple human sense.
Madigan Pingator, your independent auto owners agency on West Water Street in the Soo.
Now's the time of the year to get more for your money on a new Mahindra, the world's #1 selling farm tractor. Enjoy 0% financing on select Mahindra tractors. That's more for less on Mahindra's best-selling models. We deliver more lift, better fuel efficiency, and more built-in weight. Paul Thompson here with Gaylor Thompson Sales. Come on in and test drive a new Mahindra today. And remember, we also carry a full line of Boss plows, Cub Cadet, Woods implements, X-Mark mowers, Echo Power equipment, and Doolittle trailers. Give us a call today at 906-478-3026. And remember, I-75, exit 373 in Rudyard for the best service in the EUP.
Central Savings Bank, ask what we can do for you.
Central Savings Bank has been your hometown bank since 1902. They live where you live, and they're here to help. With 9 locations to serve you, they're everywhere you need them to be. Account options such as checking, savings, and retirement accounts. Apply online for personal, home, and business loans. Enjoy conveniences like online banking, CSB Loan Pay Express, instant issue debit cards, mobile wallet, and remote deposit capture. Central Savings Bank has all the conveniences you need and want in today's fast-paced world. Visit one of their 9 locations, see their helpful smiling faces, and get started by asking what the CSB family can do for you. Bank with the best. Bank with Central Savings Bank.
Central Savings Bank, ask what we can do for you.
Let's get back to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Let's get back to the game on News Talk 1400.
7:43 on the game, News Talk 1400. Scott Nason with you as we continue to be joined by co-host the game and host of Butch on Sports, Butch Davis, and our special guest, the voice of Soo High Blue Devil Athletics, Dave Watson. Gentlemen, another legend in the industry passed away since our last show. Bill Russell of the Boston Celtics died at the age of 88. And boy, you can say a lot about him, and I'm sure all of us will. Russell winning 11 NBA championships, a record unmatched in team sports, but also one of the most influential American athletes of the 20th century. I was in San Francisco when Russell passed away. Of course, he played his college basketball for the Dons of San Francisco, and there were a lot of real good articles in the paper about him. You know, you can put him along with Muhammad Ali and Jackie Robinson in my book as far as just, the want to win, the ability to win, and just a very smart basketball player and had the skills to match it. Butch, I'm going to go to you first. I know you talked a lot about Bill Russell on one of the editions of Butch on Sports over the past week. Certainly a legend in the NBA, basketball, and sports in general.
Yeah, wow. It shocked me because he lived so long, and he always had something inspirational to say. But this guy can make you laugh like nobody can make you laugh before. I think his main deal is to make sure that when you saw him and you left him, you always had a smile on your face, but I have this ridiculous laugh, and I mean, he would get me going there. And the few times I've watched him and talked to him and just been in the crowd where, you with a bunch of Isaiah Thomases or whatnot, and the Russell show up, and you just so happen to be in the crowd with them, and be able to get personal in the dining rooms and stuff there, where basically a lot of our media people are before the game starts and whatnot. It was a pleasure. That and it's sad because I don't think people recognize history very well in the schools anymore, and it's a damn shame that it happens because it's not all about what you see, but who opened the door for this, that, and the other. And the accomplishments this man had as a player, as a coach, his history of how him and his family came out of Louisiana to move to Oakland, and his college days where he was very successful. Him and K.C. Jones was on the same team.
Yep.
Whoa, you don't get to hear none of that there. And if we don't bring it up, and that's where our show does a phenomenal good job of letting the public know, what's going on in sense of food for thought, or maybe using Wikipedia to find out if we tell them the truth or not there. It's a breath of fresh air there. So hopefully we keep doing what we're doing, to let the general public know at large. But again, Bill Russell, he was the king of all, to me, all athletes in general there. And that's a lot to say because my mom, again, as I've told you on the show on many occasions, she lived 5 houses down from Muhammad Ali, a.k.a. Cassius Clay.
Yep.
So I got a lot of whiff of that, too, when I would visit Louisville, Kentucky to see relatives and whatnot. And to be exposed to that, like I have been, I'm a lucky human being.
Dave, Bill Russell, obviously, before our time watching NBA basketball, 11 championships, I think, in 13 years. You always have that debate, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell. Well, anytime Chamberlain faced Russell in the finals, it was usually Russell and the Celtics that had their way. And Russell also had to deal with, a lot of nonsense in Boston. He wasn't beloved, I would say, by a lot of fans in Boston because of racism or whatever else you want to call it. But Bill Russell, certainly a legend in the game.
And startling numbers. I mean, what he put up, just insane numbers, and certainly was a gentleman. And he was very choosy on who he talked to, and you know what, I could respect that.
Yep.
I mean, the pretenders and the fakers out there, he's cast them aside. But there was people in the media. I think Jackie McMullen, longtime reporter, she was on ESPN there after he passed, and she got really close to him. She got emotional talking about him, and if the real true people he was certainly engaged with. But as you mentioned before, your time and my time, but we respect history, and especially sports history, and he certainly was just a king on top of the mountain. There's no question. And 11 championships, absolutely unheard of. I thought Michael Jordan's six were impressive, but 11, and just the numbers he put up were impressive. But no, certainly one of the great athletes of all time, right up there, like Butch said, with Muhammad and Mickey Mantle and all the other greats.
Jackie McMullen is a peach herself when it comes down to conversations. If you ever get to meet her, like I have on numerous occasions there, I mean, pick her brain. She is marvelous in letting you know history and a whole lot of things that were going on, true or false or whatever it may be. She straightens it out with the quickness there. And again, she's a peach there. She is the nicest lady that you ever want to meet in this business.
Gentlemen, college hockey news. Not a lot of news out of the Pistons and Red Wings. They're pretty much shut down for now. College hockey news out of Michigan. Mel Pearson is out as Michigan Wolverines hockey coach as of Friday after the school declined to renew his contract. Pearson had been under scrutiny since the beginning of last season when complaints were formally filed against him and then director of hockey operations Rick Bancroft. The allegations against Pearson range from pressuring students to lie on their COVID-19 tracing forms prior to the 2021 NCAA tournament to creating a toxic work environment for female support staff, and claims that he retaliated against a former student athlete for bringing up issues with the culture. The filing also alleged Bancroft knew about sexual misconduct committed by deceased Michigan football team doctor, Dr. Robert Anderson. So Mel Pearson is out as head coach of Michigan hockey. And again, it's 2022. You just can't be doing these sort of things. Butch, do you have any thoughts before we go to Dave?
Again, you got to watch what you're doing, how you're saying, and because somebody's going to tell. And mommies and daddies, they're to be the first to know, and the alumni is second. My problem is why this guy has had so long why are you going to string this guy's contract out instead of letting him go for the misconduct if they were somewhat valid at the time or not? Every complaint deserves an investigation on that there, and I don't know why University of Michigan was dragging their feet on this particular individual and waited till his contract ran out in order to say he's not going to be, at use for us anymore there. There's something funny in that Christmas tree, and I don't think the story is over with the University of Michigan and how they do certain things and how they sweep certain things under the carpet there and tack it down. And more is going to come out of this, I'm quite sure. But again, for this man to do what he did, again, he has to face the facts and again, move on. I'm quite sure he will find a job somewhere else if he has a desire to work and coach hockey in some way, shape, form, or fashion. He's been in the National Hockey League. He's been in a lot of places. So I'm quite sure after maybe a couple of months of hiding, really, maybe going to Puerto Rico or something of this nature, he'll be back and looking for a job, and someone will hire him.
And Dave, the University of Michigan comes to Sault Ste. Marie this year to play Lake State. Your thoughts on Mel Pearson? Certainly things have deteriorated for him over the past year or so.
Butch is exactly right. He will be coaching again because he's a heck of a coach.
Yes.
I mean, he was up at Michigan Tech and rebuilt that program. And I was, at first, when it first came out, I was a little surprised because, you never heard of anything, with them. But I'd be interested to talk to some people up in the Copper Country of, are there any dirty secrets up there? But because usually you peel back the onion, it's not a runoff, it's not a one-off here. But, it was a damning report, what came out from that firm in D.C. I mean, you have him covering up the COVID stuff. And then you mentioned the allegations of mistreating females, which was that Rick Bancroft, which, by the way, he shouldn't see the light of day of any sport.
Nothing.
That guy's a piece of work. I can't say what I really want to say.
I thought you were going to say it.
That guy there, he's not a good citizen. I mean, he's lucky he's not in prison. I mean, for the things that are coming out about that clown. I mean, between that and then to top it off, oh yeah, he also knew what was going on with Dr. Anderson back in the day. So Bancroft really, I think, was the nail in the coffin for Mel. And I think what happened is it was unraveling here, and they were trying to hold on to it because Michigan was a top-ranked team all year. Mel Pearson's a heck of a coach, and they were clinging on to it because of that. If they weren't a top-ranked team, perhaps it would have been a different story. I mean, they probably should have played in the national championship game with the skill, talent they had. But just an ugly, ugly story, and just another one, like Butch said, to tack on the wall in Ann Arbor. And things aren't good there with a lot of different things. But, I think Mel will coach again. There's no question. And we'll see what Brandon Arado, the interim coach. Bill McCult would have been the guy they would have went with there.
Right.
But I think McCult had some issues there because he was a Mel Pearson guy. If you recall, he was up at Michigan Tech with him.
Yeah.
So I think his fingers are dirty too. Otherwise, he would have been the guy to get that job. They go to Narado instead.
Gentlemen, before we get to our thumbs up and thumbs down, over this past weekend, the Premier League started over in the UK. Chelsea wins, Man City wins, Man U loses to Brighton, and Liverpool ties Fulham 2-2. Butch, did you catch any Premier League action this weekend?
Not a bit.
Dave?
As much as Butch saw.
Class reunion was this weekend.
Oh, nice.
The Detroit Lions on their family feast or family fest, and then the Lou Whitaker particular day. My plate was full on this past Saturday and Sunday there, and Sunday was, after all the hoopla was over, you had to get up in the morning or go back to bed. I chose to go back to bed and just miss a whole heck of a lot. I stayed in bed all day Sunday, just recuperating from Saturday then. So I didn't get to see. I heard about Man U, losing, That was, I started laughing when I heard that there. But other than that, I won't be missing too many more there for what it's worth. The Premier League is back, and it's going to be a pretty wacky year here with the new teams that they elevated in there.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll certainly talk more about it over the course of the season. Gentlemen, let's get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week. I will start. No thumbs down this week other than the Detroit Tigers and their play on the field. A thumbs up to San Francisco. I had a great trip with the family out in San Francisco. Very interesting part of the world. I got to see a couple baseball games. Got to do the go-kart tour of the town. We went not under Alcatraz, went around Alcatraz, Golden Gate Bridge. It was a fun time. Thumbs down to the cost of the trip. I guess I do have some thumbs down. And thumbs up to now associate coach of the Lake State men's basketball team, Ted Stowe. Not just for that, but he house sat for us while we were gone, keeping my dog and cat very healthy. He even cut the grass before we got home.
Wow.
And filled the lawnmower afterwards with gas.
Wow.
That was very impressive.
That's a house sitter.
That is. Thank you, Ted, and hopefully we paid you
well. Did
well.
he do the trimming too?
No, not the trimming, but he got the majority of it. Dave, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
Well, the Lou Whitaker retirement, just because I was there and my all-time favorite players are mentioned, that's my thumbs up. It was a nice night. It was great to see a great crowd at Comerica Park, and we just talked about a little while ago, thumbs down to Mel Pearson and the Michigan hockey saga. That's what I have for you guys for this week.
Butch, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir. He's thinking. He's really thinking. Apparently, Butch, we got your thumbs up and thumbs down.
Yes, I have my mic off. What a clown I am here. Eric Haas, I'll make it quick here, who grew up in Westland, down in Livonia there. He is the Tigers winner of the Hart and Hustle Award, announced this past Thursday for the Major League Baseball Players Association there. I always said this guy got a raw deal, and he continued to get a raw deal from the Detroit Tigers. All he did last year, and they rewarded him by going to get Tucker Barnhart here, and he get less playing time or whatever it may be. And to stick through all of that there and still be a rooter, again, a Michigan player.
Yep.
Detroit Tigers, you idiot. Okay? And thumbs down for the University of Michigan and this thing on Mel Pearson there. I think that should have been dealt with a lot sooner than later. And Wade Manuel might be next.
Dave, as always, thanks for joining us tonight on the game. And one more time, real quick, before we let you go, Saturday at Applebee's Soo High Football Fundraiser. Tell us a little more about it.
And that will be 8 to 10 a.m. on WSOO. I'll be at Applebee's for it. We'll have player interviews, coaches, athletic director Pat Bennon, Allison Campbell, who's spearheading the event. Come on down and get a pancake breakfast, and the players will be serving, and all the proceeds go towards the pregame meals that the parents do. That's 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. at Applebee's, and we'll have it on the air on Radio Soo on Saturday.
Looking forward to that, Dave, and thanks again for joining us. Butch, what's ahead for Butch on Sports over the next week?
You're going to have sausages with those pancakes, man.
all the trimmings.
Trimmings, I got to come. And I might be there, too. You never know. Let me tell you, on Butch on Sports this week, we will probably get ready and set for Lions football.
Oh, boy.
We'll talk about that a little bit more. And also, I have a little bit more in-depth on what some of the high school teams are doing right now and how they go about their practices. Because the majority of the practices really don't wind up until the end of the week because they go through the conditioning and the old Scott and Dave there. So, not too much, but next week that should be a blast for the high schools there.
Butch, as always, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next week for our next edition of the game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's going to do it for tonight's show. I want to thank Dave Watson along with Butch Davis and David McCaig Jr. And if you want to hear the full 2-hour version of tonight's show, you can find it here in about 15 minutes on the website, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. We will talk to you next Monday night for our next edition of the game here on News Talk 1400.
Thanks for listening to the game on News Talk 1400 WKNW Sault Ste. Marie. Check us out next Monday at 6 for the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. You can hear the podcast of the show and other broadcasts at thegamesportshow.com.